Welcome to Art History 2. Hi there, I'm your professor, Jennifer Evans. I hold a master's degree from Kent State University, and my specialty is in modern African art, actually contemporary African art. I love to travel. I've seen art in many, many places. This is me standing at the MoMA in New York City. I've been in New York City, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, the Appalachian Trail, Florida, all kinds of places in the United States to see art. I've been to Europe. I've been to Italy, Paris, and London to see art. And I just really enjoy getting to see different artistic viewpoints. I've learned through seeing many different cultures, art, and art history that art is truly a reflection of a society and what a society thinks and feels, and art history is the study of that visual record that the people leave behind. So I'm really excited about this class. I really enjoy teaching Art History 1 and 2. Though my specialty is in African art, you'll know that I've been teaching Art History 1 and 2 for 15 plus years. I trained to teach this course at Kent, Maine, under Dr. Gus Medicus and Professor Rice-Chuck. So I hope you enjoy the course, and I'm always interested in speaking with you about art. A little bit about the online platform. So, teaching online, I think, is a special skill for professors. Some of us teach a combination of online and in the live classroom. I do that. I teach online and in the live classroom. And the thing that I think is most frustrating is that students sometimes have questions and they feel disconnected from the professor because they don't have the ability to see them face to face, and so they can't just walk up and ask a simple question. Please don't feel like you can't ever just ask me a simple question. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call. I know that that seems like a boundary line, that you don't just pick up the phone and call a professor, but I'm very lax about the phone. I want you to call me if you have a question. If I don't answer it, it's because I'm in a meeting. If that's the case, just leave me a message. I'll call you right back. You can also text me simple questions. If there are questions that are too complex to answer through a basic text and I'm worried that something's going to get lost in translation of texting, I will ask you to please give me a call or let me call you. Every once in a while you'll hear lots of commotion in the background. This is part of working at home. I have three dogs, 2 pit bulls and a chihuahua. So every once in a while you'll hear me really irritated with the chihuahua. I apologize. I've tried to re-record those little irritating moments out of the PowerPoint lectures, but sometimes they get caught in there. let's talk about your textbook for a minute. So your textbook, unfortunately for this class, is kind of expensive. The one that you're looking at here in front of you is a hardbound copy, and it has both Art History 1 and 2 in it. If you think at some point you're going to be taking both Art History 1 and 2, it is well worth your while to go ahead and buy the hardbound thick textbook. There's also online access available. The instructions for online access to the textbook are right below the image that I have of the textbook. It's in your syllabus. The directions are directly in the syllabus. All you have to do is copy and paste that link into your web browser that's provided for you, and then you'll have the ability to rent that textbook online. The only thing I have to say about renting the textbook online, or possibly not buying the textbook at all, because I know a lot of you just love to not buy the textbook, it's possible to do that if you were to either print out the slides and take notes directly on the slides, or you're willing to have a computer up with slide access during an exam. The problem is that during the essay portion of the exam, I will ask you to pick a slide from your textbook and do a contrast and compare between one of the slides that I've given you. The slide I give you doesn't exist in your textbook. It's one that is an unknown image. But you have to compare it to a slide in your textbook or a slide from my PowerPoints. So it's up to you, really, if you want to buy a book or not. I just think that this course is a lot harder without the textbook. If you want to give it a try and see how it goes, feel free to see what you think. I've had students tell me that not buying the textbook completely ruined their grade in this course. I've had students tell me that they didn't really need the textbook. So it's up to you. If you have questions about that, please let me know. You do not have to have the edition that I have. Sometimes you can go to Half Price Books and get one of these textbooks super cheap. You can also get an older version online. The thing I have to caution you about that is that this particular textbook comes in composite volumes, Art History 1 and Art History 2 separated. If you choose to buy a textbook, make sure you're getting Art History 2. That's the Renaissance through Contemporary. Art History 1 starts in the ancient Egyptian pyramids and cave paintings and goes all the way to 18th century. So just be sure you have the right eras in your textbook. If you have questions about the textbook, please let me know. So most of my students, the number one thing they want to know is, how do I get an A in this class? Well, a few things. There are 13 quizzes that you have to take at 10 points each. That's 130 points. You have Canvas discussion group, 12 of them, 10 points each. And then you have exams, 3 of them at 100 points each. That gives you a total of 550 points. And then the grading scale is listed here below. It's standard KSU grading scale. The thing I would say that a lot of people do that tanks their grade is they skip over either the quizzes or the discussion group. Put equal amount of time into both. The discussion group gets graded at 10 points, so it's worth just as much as the quiz. So you need to put effort into that. I expect a well-written discussion post that has thought in it. Those discussion posts are graded on your critical thinking and your ability to connect ideas. It's a really important part of the course. So let's talk about what you have to do each week. So each week you need to watch lecture, you need to respond to a group post by Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. and take a quiz by Sunday at 11:59 p.m. The exception will be on test weeks. Test weeks look differently. Your review materials will be put up the week before so that you could get a jump on studying, and obviously that week you won't have a discussion post to put up. You'll only have a test to do. Just to point out about discussion group posts on Wednesday, everything's due at 11:59 p.m. Sometimes the discussion post will have some sort of article or something that you need to read in addition to responding to a discussion post. So just be on the lookout for that. I will try to point that out to you whenever you have something like that to do in addition to the discussion post. So I'll say, read the article online, talk about something that you read in the article, and I'll start that discussion post for you. So just a note about homework. Homework is designed to help you critically think about the weekly material, not to test your comprehension of the lecture overall. The questions that you'll be asked, just because they're multiple choice, does not mean that they are not to further your understanding of the material. Especially the essay part is going to help you further understand the concepts and the material within, or the main concepts within the lecture. So just want to be sure that you understand that in the homework, we are not testing your comprehension of the lecture. We're helping you to further your understanding of the material. So there's a learning curve to it, meaning that you're not always going to get 100% on every single homework, because they're designed to help you learn from the quizzes as well as from the lecture material. Students who tend to have 100% on every assignment struggle a lot with their performance on the homework. So just want to warn you ahead of time. Homework is simply homework. It doesn't have to be perfect all the time, but you do want to put your best effort into it. So something that's really important that you do whenever you are doing your homework, and here we're talking about the quizzes. When we do the discussion post, you should be able to see my feedback to the discussion post easily. But step 2 in the homework process for the multiple choice quizzes, it is really important that you go back and look at what answers you got wrong and what the correct answer to that question was. There's always going to be feedback to you about why the correct answer is the correct answer, and that is actually how you learn through the multiple choice quizzes. So please be sure that you do that. If you don't know how to do that crucial step, there is a link here on this slide. I don't think it's actually linked. You're just going to have to copy and paste that into your browser, and it will take you to a tutorial on Canvas and how to look at that feedback. It's my understanding that Canvas is a little bit easier to use than Blackboard, so if you're an old Blackboard user, you should be able to easily understand how to see the feedback for your quiz. So I'd like to take a minute and talk about the examinations. They're designed to actually test your comprehension of the weekly materials. So those typical essay or the typical multiple choice questions that you get will be those ones sort of similar to your textbook questions, the ones that ask you, your understanding of the material. There are a few things that you need to pay attention to in terms of the exams. You want to pay attention to the review sheet. You want to have that completely filled out, have your notes based on the review terms at your disposal when taking the exam. It is a timed exam, so you get, I think it's like 180 minutes to take the first section and maybe 90 minutes to take the second section. The two sections are timed independently of each other. In the multiple choice section, if you have to look up every answer, you will not get the exam finished. So having the review sheet filled out and having notes that pertain to the review sheet terms is really important when you go to take the exam. I will record a review session and post it online the week that you take the test. And you want to watch it before you take the exam. Don't watch it during. You need to watch it ahead of time, take notes from it, and be sure that those review terms have been noted in your notes. There are two sections to the exam. I just began to explain that to you. Let me get a little bit more into that. They're Part 1 and Part 2, or Part A and Part B. Those two parts are timed independently of one another. Part A is multiple choice. It's usually 25 questions. They're worth 2 points apiece. Part B is the essay portion of the exam. That essay portion of the exam is timed. There are usually 5 or 6 questions. You need to be more detailed in your answers there, as descriptive as possible. You will absolutely positively need a textbook for Part 2 of the exam. I have so many students every semester who say, did I really need to buy that textbook? The answer is yes. If you call me and say, I didn't buy a textbook, what do I do? I will tell you, sorry about your luck, you better get yourself a textbook. I don't mean to be mean, cross, or rude, but I have told you in the very beginning that you need a textbook, and if you do not get one, it will negatively impact your ability to answer the essay questions. You're going to want to go back and look at the questions after the exam is due. So in order to fully understand the testing process, you must go back and look at the correct answers and why they were correct. And that will help you get a better grade, especially on the essay portion, for the second midterm. If you don't do this, it will affect your overall score in the class. I find that students that don't keep up with looking at the correct answers end up not fully understanding the material. If you don't go back and re-look at the answers, you will not do as well in this course. So just a reminder about my classroom policies. All group discussion posts are due Wednesday by 11:59 p.m. and all quizzes except for the final exam are due on Sunday at midnight. That includes tests. So every Sunday you have something due at 11:59 p.m. The final exam is usually due on a Wednesday, so pay attention to that date. I've had students miss that final exam date and there's nothing I can do to fix it. I don't take late work unless you prearrange an extension with me at least 48 hours in advance. I'm pretty lenient about giving you an extension as long as you take the time to ask me ahead of time in respect to the due date. I will grant you one extension per semester unless you have written documented excuse that shows that you were in the hospital or something from the majority of the week. If you were in the hospital, you had to have surgery, something like that, please contact me. I'm not unreasonable about helping you. It's just that just forgetting to do the work is not okay. So how much time should you expect to be spending weekly in class? Well, lecture is usually about 3 hours per week. If you were going to a physical classroom, you would be spending 3 hours a week in lecture. Every once in a while, you'll find that lecture takes like 2.5 hours one week and maybe 3 hours, 3.5 hours the following week. But to try to keep it right around your 3 hours a week. The university would expect that if you were in an actual classroom, it would take up 3 hours of lecture a week. As far as homework and reading and writing for the class, you're expected to spend 4 hours a week in homework. So that means between reading and writing the essay and doing the multiple choice homework, you should be spending about 4 hours. And that's kind of a lot. So I would say some weeks are going to be lighter than others. Some weeks are going to have essays and some aren't. The essay portion of the homework is very important. Do not skip those essay questions. They help you practice for the essay questions on the exams. Some important information about the way our class is organized. Please note that Canvas is brand new to me this semester, so I ask for your patience. We've worked in Blackboard for years and they've switched to Canvas on us. So if something isn't clear, please let me know, or if you can't find something on Canvas, please let me know. It might have been my error. At any rate, Canvas is organized into weekly modules. And so typically we'll work on one chapter a week in the textbook. Some weeks you only have to do half a chapter, but for the most part, you're at one chapter a week. The weekly assignments are really intended to push your critical thinking, especially those discussion board posts. A reminder that they are worth just as much as the amount of points on the quizzes. Here is a small capture of what the syllabus assignment grid looks like. We'll go over that a little bit more in detail here in a moment. Okay, so some things about this course that might be helpful to you. If English is a second language, would you please let me know? It'll make a difference in how I grade your discussion posts. I suggest that you take substantial notes during each PowerPoint presentation. If you find that you're more of a visual learner, you may want to take notes directly on the PowerPoint slides. In order to do that, you have to print the slides out ahead of time and just take notes in the margins of the slides. If I were taking this class and I were in your shoes, that's how I would take notes, is to print the slides out ahead of time and then take notes directly on the slides. You can refer to the PowerPoint presentations at any time. The only ones that will ever be removed are the ones that you use for review before the exams. So this next point is really, really important. If you don't understand an assignment, or if you have a question on a quiz or a test, it's imperative that you call me. So many students go, well, I didn't want to call and bother you. You know what? Because we don't get to see each other face to face in the classroom, the telephone is the best way to make sure that you're connecting and getting the information that you need. I'll certainly make online announcements and things like that, but if you have a question and you need it answered, please call. The last thing I ask is that you be very respectful towards one another in your discussion posts. We talk about a lot of current issues in this class. It doesn't seem like we would, but remember, we're doing art. We go art Renaissance through contemporary. So Contemporary art often talks about social issues. In addition to when you discuss the course with me, I expect you to be respectful to me as well. You have access to a lot of digital images in this course, and because of that, I just want to remind you that downloading my images, a lot of those images are my own pictures, or they belong to Dr. Medicus or Dr. Ricechuck, and so I'm asking that you please be respectful that those pictures are copyrighted, and that you could be violating copyright laws by reproducing them, so please don't do that. This slide's in here so I remind myself to tell you to advocate for yourself. If you have a disability, please use your accommodations and let me know what accommodations you would like to use. Remember that if you plan on using your accommodations, I just need to know that before an exam. The quizzes on a weekly basis are not timed, so you don't have to worry about that. I know that sometimes I have students who get accommodations like, let's say they get PowerPoint printed out and things like that. I don't have the ability to give you those directly. I will post those things for you as I have them, but those things are things you'll have to print out by yourself. If you have a problem and you need help, once again, please call me. Along these lines of students with disabilities, as your professor, I am someone that has a disability myself. I have a learning disability, and so my spelling's a little wonky, so I'm just warning you ahead of time that that's the case. So let's try to be respectful of each other's abilities. I want to remind you that I'm required to report attendance at various points within this semester. The university expects me to report your attendance. Attendance in an online class means that you log into Canvas 2 to 3 times a week and you do your assignments. In order to be counted as having attended, you need to have done at least 1 week's worth of class. So a discussion post and a quiz constitutes a week's worth of work. One assignment by itself does not constitute your attendance in this course. So please make sure you do at least 2 assignments, or you will be dropped for non-attendance. This is a reminder that I ask that you turn in all work through Canvas. It protects you. It tells you, hey, I turned this in, and you can prove that you turned it in. And it keeps it in a place for me so that I know where it is, so that I don't accidentally miss one of your emails. Emailing me work is just not a great place to turn in work. Email is something that I do my very best to keep up with on a regular basis, but at times I'll accidentally miss an email. So because of that, I ask that you only turn work in on Canvas. I refuse to take it as an email. If you send me work as an email attachment, or if you send me work through email, I won't even look at it. I won't grade it. Also, here's a little blurb about my learning disability. Spelling is just a really great little challenge for me. I do my best, and I have all kinds of tricks and tools to make sure everything's spelled properly. But I just wanted you to know that it has no way, shape, or form anything to do with my professional approach to this course. I promise you that I won't pick at you if you don't spell well. I appreciate if you give me the same consideration. Also, sometimes I have a voice that's a little bit flat. That is because of my learning disability, as well as Sometimes I might word things just a little bit wonky. That shouldn't affect you in this course, but I just want you to know if something seems worded a little bit differently, it's just because my brain processes things just a little bit differently than maybe yours does. One of the most common questions I get in this class is, why are there no words on your slides, Professor Evans? And I say, because it's art history. You're not supposed to be looking at words. You're supposed to be looking at art. Art history is a discipline that, by its standards, says that you are not supposed to put words on your slides. Every once in a while you'll get really lucky and I'll add vocabulary terms into the slides and point them out to you for clarification purposes. This is why I suggest that you print the slides out ahead of time and take notes directly on the slides. Let's take a look at the syllabus schedule for a minute here. This is the last section of the syllabus. It tells you what week and dates that each module is organized into. And each module will be labeled week 1 with the dates, week 2 with the dates. The next column tells you what eras of art history are going to be lectured on. So you can see the first week, Proto-Renaissance, is the era that the lecture will cover. Above it, you'll see the chapter and page ranges that the lecture is coming from. The thing about that chapter and those page ranges is they come from that hardbound textbook that I have. I put the ISBN number in your syllabus, so if you want the exact same textbook that I have, you can get the exact same textbook that I have. But if you're using a different version, your page ranges might be a little bit different. So I'm just warning you ahead of time about that. The next column says what is due for the week. Always you're going to see a pattern. You have a quiz on Canvas due every Sunday at midnight. Then you have a group discussion on Wednesday and a quiz on Sunday. So group discussion on Wednesday, quiz on Sunday, every single week, except for test week. So go over this syllabus schedule pretty thoroughly. Make sure you understand what's due and when it's due. Note that every once in a great while, I will move around a week or something like that. One time I fell and broke my leg and had to move one of the weeks to a different week. So just know that if I make a change to the syllabus, I will make an announcement to let you know something has changed. This is the end of our syllabus lecture. I just want to be sure that you know that you have a little quiz to take this week. This week is not a typical week because we don't have a discussion post. We only have that little quiz. You do have to take that quiz. It's worth 10 points. And it just goes over the things we talked about in the syllabus discussion.